The moon is not what you think it is. For 53 years, ever since the last Apollo astronaut departed its surface in 1972, humanity convinced itself it fully understood the moon. A dead rock, a serene gray companion, geologically quiet and completely mapped. Then, on April 6, 2026, 4 astronauts aboard the Orion spacecraft swung around its far side, the enigmatic half that permanently faces away from Earth. What they discovered there shattered that comfortable illusion in a matter of hours. Their names are Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen, the crew of Artemis II. This historic mission marked the first time a woman, a black astronaut, and a non-American ventured beyond Earth orbit. They launched from Kennedy Space Center at 6:35 inches the evening on April 1st, 2026, riding atop NASA's most powerful rocket ever constructed, the Space Launch System. The SLS stands 15 meters tall and generates 39,146 kilonewtons of thrust at liftoff. It took them out of Earth orbit in a single burn that lasted less than 5 minutes. From that moment, there was truly no turning back. Their trajectory, known as a free return, meant that even if the spacecraft's engine had completely failed after that burn, the moon's gravity would have gracefully slung them around, sending them back towards Earth on its own accord. Apollo 13 followed the same kind of trajectory in 1970. It is the safest path to the moon, which also tells you something about how inherently dangerous this journey still is. The safest option accounts for total engine failure. As they passed behind the moon at roughly 7,515 kilometers above its surface, they became the most isolated humans in history. For 40 minutes, the moon itself blocked every radio signal between their spacecraft and Earth. No voice from Houston, no telemetry, no abort commands, nothing but profound silence, and the oldest, most battered landscape in the solar system stretching out beneath them. Victor Glover, the mission's pilot, attempted to describe his real-time observations to mission control before the blackout hit. He struggled, admitting that humans were likely not evolved to comprehend what they were witnessing, finding it truly hard to articulate. When the signal cut out at 6:44 inches the evening, Eastern Time, the 4 of them were utterly alone with it. So, what did they see? To grasp why the moon's far side is so profoundly disturbing, one must first understand its stark contrast to the familiar face we observe every night. The near side, the one that faces Earth, is covered in vast, dark plains called Maria, ancient lava flows that filled enormous craters and cooled into flat basalt seas billions of years ago. About 31% of the near side is covered in this volcanic rock, giving the moon its familiar face, the one we have drawn, photographed, and painted for centuries. The far side has almost none of it, less than 1%. Instead of smooth plains, the far side is a relentless wall of craters stacked on top of craters, stacked on top of older craters. It looks, instead, as if something relentlessly hammered it for 4 billion years, never ceasing its assault. The crust is roughly 50 kilometers thicker on the far side than the near side, and no one fully agrees on why. The leading theory posits a cataclysmic impact near the moon's south pole, so violent it sent a plume of heat rippling through the entire interior, effectively shoving rare Earth elements and radioactive materials toward the near side. That impact left behind the largest preserved crater in the entire solar system, the South Pole-Aitken Basin. It stretches roughly 2,500 kilometers across and plunges up to 13 kilometers deep. If you placed it on a map of the United States, it would swallow everything from Texas to Virginia. The mountains along its rim are among the tallest on the moon, reaching summit elevations of 8,500 meters. And buried beneath its floor, something enormous is hiding. In 2019, a team led by planetary geophysicist Peter James at Baylor University combined gravity data from NASA's Grail mission with topographic measurements from the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. What they found was a mass anomaly sitting at least 300 kilometers below the surface of the basin. A colossal blob of dense material weighing at minimum 218 quintillion kilograms. James described it as roughly equivalent to burying a pile of metal 5 times larger than the big island of Hawaii deep underground. Whatever it is heavy enough to drag the basin floor downward by more than 8 kilometers. The most likely explanation is that it is the metallic core of the asteroid that punched the hole in the first place, still lodged in the moon's mantle after 4 billion years. Like a bullet fragment, the body never managed to push out. The Artemis II crew became the first humans to witness the eastern edge of this basin with their own eyes. Not through a robotic camera, not in processed data from an orbiter, but through the windows of their spacecraft. The Apollo astronauts never saw it. Their flight paths did not take them over the right parts of the far side, and their timing did not align with the right solar illumination. Artemis II's trajectory was different by design, sweeping closer and at an angle that exposed roughly 21% of the far side to direct sunlight from the crew's perspective, enough to see features that no human being had ever witnessed firsthand. One of the 30 science targets for the flyby was the Oriental Basin, a nearly 600-meter-wide impact scar that straddles the boundary between the near and far sides. It is 8 billion years old, and from orbit, it looks like a bullseye smashed into the moon's western limb. The crew trained for months in Iceland and other volcanic landscapes to learn how to recognize and describe geological features in real time, since they are not scientists by profession, but pilots and engineers. Koch noted that the smaller, more recent impact craters appeared shockingly bright against the ancient surface around them. She compared them to tiny pinprick holes in a lampshade, glowing white against the dull, gray terrain. Before reaching the far side, the crew also observed one of the near side's most baffling features, Reiner Gamma. Reiner Gamma is a bright, swirling pattern sprawled across the moon's surface, as if someone dragged a white paintbrush across dark rock. It has no elevation. It is not a crater or a volcanic deposit. It is a flat optical marking that aligns perfectly with a localized magnetic anomaly in the crust beneath it. The moon has no global magnetic field and has not had one for billions of years. Yet, scattered patches of magnetized rock persist in its crust, like ghosts of something that used to protect it. Reiner Gamma sits on top of one of these patches. Scientists still are not certain whether the magnetism is shielding the surface from solar wind weathering, or whether something else entirely is creating that bright swirl. The Artemis II science team flagged it as a priority observation target, and the crew photographed it as they swept past. Glover became fixated on the terminator, the shifting line between the sunlit and shadowed halves of the moon. Along that boundary, craters transform. Sunlight strikes their rims at extreme angles, casting shadows so deep they look like holes punched through to the moon's core. Glover radioed down that the Terminator was full of magic, that the islands of light and valleys looked like black holes you could fall straight through to the center of the moon. Christina Koch and Jeremy Hansen were simultaneously photographing the Vavilov crater, perched on the rim of the older and larger Hertzsprung Basin deep on the far side. The Science Evaluation Room in Houston was updating the observation plan in real time, sending new guidance to the crew based on what they were reporting. The crew also noted subtle color variations across the surface that no orbiter image had fully captured. Shades of brown and green on the near side, delicate blue tints in certain regions. Nuances human eyes can discern, but cameras often flatten. These color shifts matter, because they reveal mineral composition and relative age of surface features, information that could reshape maps of the moon's geological history. That description is not just poetry. It touches on something genuinely unsettling about the far side. In 2023, researchers detected a thermal anomaly buried beneath the far side surface, a region about 50 kilometers wide that registers roughly 10 degrees Celsius warmer than its surroundings. The likely source is a massive buried block of granite, a rock type common on Earth, but almost unheard of on the moon. This is because granite requires water and plate tectonics to form, neither of which the moon has. The researchers believe it may be the remnant of a volcano that went dormant 5 billion years ago, its residual magma still radiating faint heat. Lead scientist Matt Siegler noted that the finding looks far more like what we see on Earth than anyone had thought possible on the moon. This raises a question nobody expected to be asking in 2026. What else is still warm beneath that ancient crust? Then there are the lava tubes. Radar data and high-resolution imagery suggest the moon harbors underground tunnel networks formed by ancient lava flows, with entrance pits visible from orbit that could lead to caverns large enough to shelter entire structures. Their true size, distribution, and structural integrity remain unknown. What might be inside them? Whether they contain trapped gases, pristine volcanic deposits, or temperature conditions radically different from the surface remains entirely speculative. Future Artemis missions may eventually explore them. For now, they are sealed. The Artemis II crew also witnessed something no human had ever seen from this distance or angle: a total solar eclipse from lunar orbit. As Orion dipped behind the moon, the sun slid behind the lunar disk and disappeared. Totality lasted for nearly 54 minutes, far longer than any eclipse visible from Earth. The sun's corona, its outer atmosphere, flared out in a halo that Victor Glover described as bright enough to ring the entire moon. Jeremy Hansen reported that the sun illuminated the entire perimeter of the moon during totality, highlighting unique topography along the lunar limb. Ridges and peaks silhouetted against the burning white light of the sun's atmosphere. Hansen and Reed Wiseman both noted that during the eclipse, they spotted what appeared to be impact flashes on the lunar surface, momentary bursts of light that could have been small meteorites striking the unprotected far side. Scientists in the evaluation room asked for more details. Both confirmed seeing at least one brief flash, though they could not say how long it lasted. The moon has no atmosphere, no magnetic field to speak of, nothing between its surface and the full violence of space. Every micrometeorite, every particle of solar wind, every burst of galactic cosmic radiation hits the far side with nothing to slow it down. For centuries, observers on Earth have reported brief flashes of light on the lunar surface. Transient luminous events that appear and vanish before anyone can definitively confirm them. Some are meteorite impacts. Others might be electrostatic dust plumes or outgassing from the interior. No one knows for sure. The Artemis II crew may have witnessed at least one of these events during the solar eclipse, a flash that could not be verified in the time they had. Apollo astronauts on the near side reported seeing mysterious light streaks behind their closed eyelids during their missions, caused by high-energy particles from galactic cosmic rays punching through their retinas. Those exposures were brief, a few days at most. Some Apollo astronauts later developed cataracts at unusually high rates. Most lived long lives with no obvious radiation-related cancers, a reassuring but statistically meaningless fact given the minuscule sample size of exactly 24 people who have ever truly left Earth's magnetic protection. Artemis II's crew is spending 10 days in deep space during solar maximum, the peak of the sun's one-year activity cycle, when the risk of solar particle events is at its highest. A severe solar storm can push radiation to nearly lethal doses within hours. The Orion capsule provides some shielding, more than Apollo ever did, but the galactic cosmic rays that originate from supernova explosions and other cataclysmic events move at nearly the speed of light and can penetrate almost anything we have built. Alexandra Stankovic, founding director of the Center for Space Medicine Research at Massachusetts General Hospital, has called deep space radiation the #1 limitation to how far humans can explore, the showstopper, in her words. Researchers are testing everything from experimental drug therapies to dietary supplements to speculative gene therapy techniques borrowed from radiation-resistant organisms. Because if astronauts are ever going to live beyond Earth's magnetic shield for months at a time, engineering alone will not be enough. Biology has to be part of the answer. The Avatar payload aboard Artemis II carries bone marrow cells derived from the crew's own blood samples. Scientists will study how those cells respond to the deep space radiation environment after the mission. That data is worth more than any photograph. During the communications blackout, the crew was beyond help. If a solar particle event had struck during those 40 minutes, Mission Control would not have known until the signal returned. The crew trained for this. They had protocols. Orion was equipped to pump oxygen continuously to maintain cabin pressure, even in an emergency. They carried pressurized suits. None of that changes what those 40 minutes actually were. 4 people sealed inside a capsule the size of a large van, separated from Earth by 3,476 kilometers of solid lunar rock, surrounded by a landscape scarred by ancient violence, and bathed in radiation our species did not evolve to survive. When the signal came back, Mission Control in Houston erupted. The crew reported that they had watched Earth set behind the lunar horizon, a slow disappearance of a pale blue crescent sinking behind gray, cratered rock. The image NASA released, dubbed EarthSet, is a mirror of the famous Earthrise photograph taken by Apollo 8 astronaut Bill Anders in 1968, except this time, Earth is leaving, slipping behind the far side, vanishing. Koch described the moment with a clarity that cut through the technical chatter of the mission, stating that such a perspective, when compared to home, reminds us how much we have in common, that Earth provides everything we need, and that one cannot truly understand this until they have experienced the perspective of the other. The crew named 2 craters during the flyby. One they named Integrity, after their nickname for the Orion spacecraft. The other they named Carol, in memory of Reed Wiseman's late wife, Carol Taylor Wiseman, who passed away in 2020. It sits on the boundary between the near and far sides of the moon, a bright spot visible from Earth if you know where to look. Hansen described it simply as a bright spot on the moon. The Artemis II mission set a new record for the farthest distance any human has traveled from Earth, reaching an estimated 406,770 kilometers. The Orion spacecraft passed its closest approach to the moon at roughly 97,940 kilometers per hour relative to Earth. The entire flyby observation period lasted 7 hours. The crew took thousands of photographs, most of which have not been downlinked yet because of bandwidth limitations. The full image set will not be available until after splashdown, scheduled for Friday, April 10th, off the coast of San Diego. Those images are going to matter. NASA has said that the photographs of craters, ridges, and ancient lava flows could help researchers better understand how the moon formed, how the solar system evolved, and where to send the next missions. The observations also serve a practical purpose. Future Artemis missions will land astronauts on the moon's surface, and the crew's descriptions of terrain features, shadow behavior, and surface textures will inform where those landings happen. A site that appears flat and safe in an orbiter image might look entirely different when a trained human eye catches the way shadows pool in unexpected places along the terminator. The far side is already contested territory. Not politically, not yet, but scientifically. China's Chang'e 4 lander touched down on the far side in January 2019 inside Von Karman crater, a 186-kilometer wide feature at the floor of the South Pole-Aitken basin. It was the first soft landing on the far side in history, requiring a relay satellite called Kuiqiao, parked in a halo orbit beyond the moon, just to maintain communication, as direct radio contact with Earth is impossible from the far side. The U-22 rover found minerals from the lunar mantle, olivine and pyroxene, confirming that the South Pole-Aitken impact dug deep enough to excavate material from hundreds of kilometers beneath the surface. In 2024, China's Chang'e 6 mission went further. It collected samples from the far side and returned them to Earth, the first time material from the moon's hidden hemisphere had ever been brought back for laboratory analysis. Scientists are still working through those samples. The far side also offers something no other place in the inner solar system can provide: radio silence. It is permanently shielded from the electromagnetic noise of human civilization on Earth. Every cell tower, every broadcast signal, every Wi-Fi router, all of it is blocked by 3,400 kilometers of solid rock. For radio astronomers, the far side is the quietest listening post imaginable. Telescopes placed there could detect frequencies below 30 megahertz that Earth's own ionosphere blocks, opening a window into the early universe that has never been available before. Multiple space agencies have proposed building observatories on the far side for exactly this reason. The moon is not just hiding secrets on its surface. It is offering us an unparalleled tool to hear the rest of the universe more clearly than ever before. For centuries, we stared at the moon's familiar face and declared it understood. We landed on it 6 times, collecting rocks from a handful of carefully chosen sites, all on the near side. Essentially, we built a model of the entire moon based on a localized dataset, akin to landing a spacecraft in the Sahara Desert and proclaiming the entire Earth is made of sand. The far side is where the real story lives. A landscape so ancient and battered that it records impacts the near side long ago erased under blankets of lava. A basin so large it may have shifted the moon on its axis. A metallic mass buried so deep that it warps the local gravity field. Unexplained heat sources, sealed lava tubes, a crust so thick and so different from the near side that it challenges the basic models of how moons cool and solidify. As Orion cleared the far side and Earth reappeared, Glover simply stated, "The moon is not just a poster in the sky that goes by. It's a real place." He is right. And the more we learn about it, the less comfortable that fact becomes. Because the far side is not just different from what we expected, it is different in ways that keep forcing us to rewrite the story. The granite that should not be there, the mass that does not match, the asymmetry that no single theory explains, the magnetic ghosts imprinted in a crust that lost its field billions of years ago. The moonquakes that Apollo seismometers detected, shallow tremors that suggest something is still moving inside a world we told ourselves was dead. Every answer the far side gives us opens 3 more questions, and the questions keep getting harder. The Artemis II crew is on their way home now, falling back toward Earth at thousands of kilometers per hour. They will splash down in the Pacific on Friday, and when they do, they will carry with them the first human observations of the moon's hidden face in over half a century. Not the sanitized version from orbiter cameras and processed datasets, but the raw, breathtaking reality that compelled Victor Glover, a Navy captain and test pilot who has spent 168 days aboard the International Space Station, to declare that what he was witnessing was beyond what human beings had evolved to. See, the moon is not what we thought it was, and we have barely begun to find out what it actually is.